Welcome, welcome. It's a Monday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, an original music and creative positive talk series where we have a special guest each week. Our special guest, as you can see this week, from Greater Philadelphia, the wonderful songwriter, Lisa Jeanette. Hi, Lisa.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for coming on the show. Been a fan of your music for a long time.
Oh, same here. I've been a fan of your music, not mine.
Well, you should like your own music too, though. This is really neat. We actually met each other through the Philadelphia Area Songwriters Alliance, PASA, a wonderful group I've mentioned before, currently being run by Rob Lincoln and Heidi Hoskins and Christine Winchester Perry, a wonderful and supportive group of songwriters from Greater Philadelphia. Anyone who's looking for a group that has open ears and open arms, really look into PASA. Wonderful people. We're here every Monday night, and we are so happy that you are here. We try to mix a balance of live music and talk about our guest artist. We have 3 rounds of music where I open up very briefly for our headliner each round, and the rest of the time is all about the artist, where you can find their music, what their background is, where their gigs, virtual or otherwise, might be, and their musical background and anything they want to talk about, really. So it's pretty wide open. So I want to welcome you again and thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
I'm going to do a real quick intro, and this is wonderful because I get to headline for Lisa. I mean, I get to open for Lisa, which is just great. But wait till you hear her music, you'll know why I went first. That's certainly true. This is a welcome song I often play at the beginning of a lot of my shows. Welcome, welcome. I can't believe your face is at my door. Welcome, welcome. You've been on my mind forevermore. Welcome, welcome. Put down your load, stay a while. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to see your beautiful smile. Stay as long as your feet need to rest. Stay, recharge your soul. Stay, for my heart has truly missed you. Stay, consider this your home. Tell me, where has your searching led? Tell me the things the road has said. Tell me, is the journey's end the start? Tell me, am I somewhere in your heart? And stay as long as your feet need to rest. Stay, recharge your soul. Stay, for my heart has truly missed you. Stay, consider this your home. Tell me, is the journey's end the start? Tell me that I'm somewhere in your heart. And stay as long as your feet need to rest. Stay and reach largest soul. Stay, for my heart has truly missed you. Stay. Consider this your home. Consider this your home. A welcome song for you.
That's a beautiful song. It's such a feel-good song.
Thank you kindly. I wrote that in September, just last month, Lisa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I didn't have anything poppy and light. And one thing we do, as hopefully you've seen a couple other episodes, is we share a little bit about the craft of each song, but mostly about you. I think the only thing I'd say about the craft of that song is I was intentionally trying to make repetition, which I don't do when I write. I don't say welcome, 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 or tell me, tell me, tell me. And I said, you know what? This is really awkward. This is awkward writing this, but it came out, like you say, kind of fun and kind of
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
It has a very welcoming, like it's a great show opener.
Thank you. That's the intent, to welcome you, our special guest. It's really exciting to have you here. Before Lisa gets on to her first song, I'll tell you again, she is a native Philadelphian and singer-songwriter who a couple years ago released her wonderful debut album, Chasing Happy. Highly recommend you track that down. She's a multi-instrumentalist. As you'll find out tonight, she'll be playing guitar and playing piano and displaying her wonderful voice and her great lyrical chops. Just really direct and insightful way of writing, I have to say. The best way to describe Lisa's style of music from her website is kaleidoscopic folk, which represents a wide variety of genres in a diverse collection of songs. And diverse is the key here. A trained musician, a diverse musician who is a good songwriter, who's good at the craft. And that's a brief introduction, but it really is kind of hits the nail on the head. Really wonderful guest tonight, Lisa. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, and I don't know if I can live up to all that.
I've heard your music, you do, so don't worry about that.
Oh gosh, the pressure's on.
What were you thinking of sharing during the first round? And you can talk about the song before or after or both. It's totally up to you.
During
is fine too.
That's what I normally do. So I'm going to play one song in my Brahms Schumann trilogy. And this one is called Darling of the Muses. And I'm just going to kind of go into it a little bit. So it's a story about Clara Schumann. And Clara Schumann was a composer and a virtuoso pianist in the mid-19th century. She was married to Robert Schumann, who was the premier composer of his day. He was the kingmaker. And they had 9 children. And Clara was the main breadwinner of their family because Robert Schumann had some mental illness issues. So Clara did most of the work. She toured, they lived in Germany, she toured the Netherlands, she toured Russia, she toured England by boat, by horse and carriage. We're talking like the 1850s in that era. And I usually say here, and oh, you musicians that are touring musicians, aren't you glad you're not touring with a horse and carriage? But now I think any musician would be happy to tour horse and carriage or anyway. Hopefully that'll come back soon. But Johannes Brahms was a young musician, as Clara and Schumann were very well known and popular, who was not known. And everyone told him, go see Robert Schumann. He's the kingmaker. He can make it for you, make you, more famous. So one day, Johannes Brahms, known as Jojo in this song, knocked on their door and rocked their world. I am married to the kingmaker, but of all the kings he chooses, Jojo's a ball breaker. He's a heart taker, and they call him the darling of the muses. When I entered the parlor, Jojo sat at the piano. He had diamonds in his eyes and his hair was a halo. And he began to play like nothing I'd ever heard it Big smoking is the word. The king is in the counting house, counting all the voices in his head. Jojo kisses my children at night and tucks them into bed. We traded turns for days, took evening walks after tea. Nothing happened, I'm ashamed of, there was no impropriety. But he does give me a charge, and he blows all my fuses. How did I fall in love with the darling of the muses? Tongue started wagging after me and my kids. I wish I'd had half the fun that they'd imagined that I did. But I got bills to pay, I got work to do. Ain't it funny how Jojo didn't get a scarlet letter too? The king is in the counting house, counting all the voices in his head. Jojo kisses my children at night and tucks them into bed. The kingmaker left me when he jumped into the Rhine. The voices in his head were so much stronger than mine. But I loved him with a vengeance, every moment here or gone. He left me with Jojo, but he also left me all alone. The king is in the counting house, counting all the voices in his head. And when he took his last breath, I turned to Jojo and said, let's take a trip together, but he blew his kisses to me. He said he'd rather be a loner as long as he was free. Now my heart is broken twice, and I'm left with all those bruises. How did I fall in love with the darling of the muses? And now I'm in the counting house, counting all the voices in my head. And now I'm in the counting house, counting all the voices in my head. And now I'm in the counting house.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And that's true. They all knew each other, and that was the real situation.
That was, yeah, it's all true. I mean, to the point where that is how it happened. As I've read about it, where he walked in to Schumann's house. This is Johannes Brahms, known as Jojo. He walked into their house and knocked on their door. Walked in. He started playing for Robert Schumann. Robert's like, wait a minute, I need to get my wife. And he goes and he gets Clara and he says, you got to hear this guy. And they listen to him and they are just blown away. And the way Clara describes it, he had this blonde hair and these blue eyes. He's very German looking. And she said it was like his hair was like a halo. Like he looked like an angel playing, and his playing was like nothing they'd ever heard before. So, I mean, the song is actually pretty close to the truth.
Wow.
Sometimes in my songwriting, I just actually say things that I've heard and sing them. So
Yeah.
so it's a brilliant story. I mean, it's an intriguing story because it was this love triangle. No one ever knows if after Schumann died, which he did, like after he did try to jump into the Rhine, even that part is true.
Wow.
He tried to kill himself. He wanted Clara to go with him. And he survived for another, I want to say 6 months in a sanitarium.
Wow.
And Clara wasn't allowed to see him because back in those days it was like women were too fragile to have to like see anybody in a sanitarium. But Brahms visited him, and they were all friends. But there was definitely an attraction between Clara Schumann and Brahms. So I wrote a song from each of their perspectives, which I'm not going to do all of them tonight, but they're all on the album, and that's upcoming. And it's quite a story. It really is.
That is wonderful. Now you're referring to your second release that you're working on. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's called Jellyfish on the Moon. Which is one of my songs. And it has the trilogy on it and a collection of songs that I've been writing over the past couple years. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a fun, it is a fun project. It's the first time I'm recording in a studio. My first album, my husband and I recorded in our basement. Right. So this is the first time I'm working in a studio. So huge learning curve, and but I'm loving it. It's like, didn't think I liked recording at all, but actually I'm kind of getting the swing of it now. So
But that's wonderful. Well, a couple of things that first release, Chasing Happy, the self production is wonderful, and the use of your voice for both vocal choir effect and horn effect is beautiful and harmonically beautiful, and it really is a well produced album.
thanks. That's Rich DeAngelis. That's my husband. He's which he told me not to say anything embarrassing tonight.
Okay, we won't.
But I can tell you, he did all the work on that, and I'm very proud of him.
Very well produced. And the I understand you're working at Morningstar for this current project. Is that true? Morningstar Studios.
Yes, Glenn Barrett is the producer
Right. Yeah.
engineer, and yeah, and that's been really just a gift. Just very lucky to be working with that group of people, and the house band, which is Ross Belanois and Eric Johnson and Chico Huff, are just amazing musicians, and I could not believe just how gifted they are, and just so responsive, like to any ideas I had, so responsive to, I had these rough tracks that I came in with that had, like, I don't know, like an idea, and they would just take off, like they would take. It's the first time they're hearing the song, and they just pick it up, and then they play off each other so well. So that was like really a pleasure just to experience that kind of musicianship in the room kind of thing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
All socially distant with masks, and not when I'm singing, of course, but we wore masks. We were in separate rooms. We took the masks off and we're in separate rooms, but we were able to just keep, and we've been able to do that, stay socially distant, and it's worked out really well.
Well, wonderful. We all wish you great success on this project as well.
Thank you.
That is neat. Hey, those of you just tuning in, this is Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney. It's every Monday night at 7 o'clock on Rocking the Valley and on Tom Cooney Music on Facebook. Our guest this week is Lisa Jeanette, and is a wonderful singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist from Greater Philadelphia. And we were just talking about her latest release she's working on at Morningstar Studios. Based on the title, will be based on sounds like a great tune, "Jellyfish on the Moon," which I've heard a couple of times, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's another benefit of being married to my husband. He watches all these sciencey shows and nature shows, and they make me write songs about that sort of topic. So it's kind of fun.
wonderful, wonderful. For folks who want to reach out and see what your media presence is, we'll be spending some time this evening on different sites, and probably talk about Spotify first, I guess, because we'll go into the website a little bit later. There's a lot more pages on that, and let me make sure that I am sharing this correctly. And there's your Spotify page,
Yes.
and
And
now,
or Money for Blood was not on the first album. That was a single that I released after
yes,
the Stoneman Douglas shooting,
the one in
which
Florida, yeah.
yeah, and that was in response to, we always say remember their names, and then we don't remember their names. So that song I actually took the stories and wrote about the people that the victims, and wrote something about their names and the stories that were attached to them. And I, of course, couldn't sing about every single one. There was too many,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it just helped me kind of get the idea of, like, these were people that had stories attached to each person, and so that was a single. But all the others are on the first album.
Right. Yeah, that is a very powerful song, "Money for Blood," the single that you see there with the different collared red label on it. And it's just so powerful to listen to that, to listen to all those people who they really were, the kid or the teacher or the gym teacher. And just really, really good craft, good songwriting, and very powerful to listen to. The other one you had, "Safer When It Rains." You had one of your guests on the album played horns, and I believe he was playing trumpet on
Yes,
"Safer."
that was John Maurer.
John
He's
Maurer,
a
yeah.
wonderful trumpet player and educator, and he has his own website and all of that. But he's just a wonderful trumpet player, very very diverse, and agile, I should say.
Yeah, his improv is great, and his backup and the songs he joins you on is really, really good. I believe you had a violin player back you up. Was that on Kensington Blues?
Violin was
I,
on. Uh, I had a cellist on
excuse me.
Like You've Never Gone. Yeah,
There you
yes,
go. Yeah,
that was a cellist.
yeah. She was wonderful.
Yeah, she was playing very high. I didn't know at the time. I wrote her part out, and then she said, "That's really high for the cello." So that's probably why you're saying violin. It probably was like a violin part.
I did think it was a violin, but I'm not a string player, so that
Oh, you are a string player.
I'm not. I'm
Oh,
not.
you're not. Oh,
Just a
okay.
guitar string player. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Everything you see there is from Chasing Happy, and that's available. And your music, Lisa, is available on Spotify and where else?
Amazon, iTunes. It's pretty much everywhere you can buy music.
Got it. And Google Play too, I see.
Yes, Google Play.
Okay, good, excellent. Let me stop the share here for a second, and we should be back. There we are. Yeah, it is great. Now, make sure you take a listen to that stuff, and it's all available for purchase and download and all that stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about other ways to get involved in Lisa's music as well. Let's get on to the second round of music, and this is a song I wrote in November of 2019 and finished it in March this year. And it's a song called The Diamond. She wraps the sunrise round her shoulders, sweeps the stardust from her eyes, lets the morning wind blow through her hair, thinks what a gift to be alive. Alone but never lonely, she treasures the peace she's found. The expectations, the hurt, the anger, they lay hard on the burning ground. She's the diamond in the deep dark rough, sheltering a true burning love. She's learned to do what she loves and love what she does. She's ready for the wonder of love's honest touch. She's the diamond in the rough. She cradles the glowing sunset. She lays vespers on the wind. Today is now yesterday. Tomorrow must wait to begin. She wraps the blanket of stars round her shoulders. She lets the moonbeams fill her eyes. She bathes in dreams of renewal, of new worlds coming to life. She's the diamond in the deep dark rough. She's sheltering a true burning love. She's learned to do what she loves. She loves what she does. She's ready for the wonder of love's honest touch. She's the diamond in the rough. She's learned to do what she loves, and she loves what she does. She's ready for the wonder of love's honest touch. She's the diamond in the
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I love those open chords. It's so fun.
Yeah, that's one of my obsessions is coming up with extended harmony voicings that have open strings.
Yeah, yeah. I try to not use a capo too often. I do sometimes, but I try to find the chords where I can, and I love you do the same thing, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is fun. It's neat for players like us, and all acoustic guitarists can speak to this. We're working with an acoustic chamber here, where the sound goes into the hole, and when you have open strings, where the fingers aren't muting or aren't controlling frequencies, you get a lot more reverberation, and overtones get created and come out of the acoustic chamber. So I'm fascinated with open string voicings.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of tunings, different tunings, or do you stay in?
I do drop D bass sometimes.
Mhm.
I do know how to play in DADGAD, but I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, I don't do drop tunings either,
Yeah.
or do alternate tunings too much.
Yeah, I being a Celtic person, I have to reinvest in DADGAD again, or I might get thrown out of some kind of Celtic union I'm part of that I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no, and the only reason I don't do it is I respect it. It's just that I have a fear of not remembering, not remembering something, and being on stage and being like, I don't know how to tune this guitar, like.
yeah,
We're not like I'm not at the level where I have like people just hand me the guitar and I know what it's tuned to this and this one's tuned to that.
yeah, the person who co-runs the Godfrey Daniels Guitar Pull Songwriters group with Jim Carolan is Mike Holliday, and he plays strictly in open tunings. Um, uh, in a few of them, and so he doesn't have the problem of am I in standard tuning or not. But the sounds he can create are incredible. They're so
Yeah,
beautiful.
it
Yeah,
really is wonderful. I've seen Mike play. He's a
yeah,
wonderful artist.
and a really super guy too. Yeah, I think the only other thing I would say about that song for me was it was about someone, a character who obviously had had many challenges in her life and in her loves, and she needed to shelter and work and be herself with herself. And I think
Mhm.
for me, the key line there is the expectations, the hurt, the anger lay hard on the burning ground. She just got rid of them. And so she's happy and ready. And so, again, I've said this before in a couple of my other shows, probably the primary theme of a lot of my writing last couple of years is being on the precipice of change.
Mm,
The work is done, the pain has been worked through, and you are like there.
mm.
So it's some kind of emotional fascination. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. It's like a transformation, evolution kind of
Yeah.
theme, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I have a parallel song
Cool.
um, that I could play if you want me to.
Absolutely.
All right, this is called Top of the Ferris Wheel. I'll talk about it after I play it. I'll play it first, but it's Top of the Ferris Wheel, and it is on the new album. I ran as fast as I could down to the storefront corner, peeking over the row homes, hoping to see the promise of the Ferris wheel, part of the sphere, winking back at me from the sky. I could see colors, the lights all aglow. Oh, how they twinkled at night. It's time for the carnival. Can I go? Hop a ride on the merry-go-round. Let's glide to the top of the Ferris wheel. I can see everything better from here. Didn't have much to hope for, never dreamed of diamonds or rubies. Came by the crazy, honestly, learned how to act sane from the movies. Oh, you should have seen me back then. I was drunk with desire, I wanted to be good at something, good to someone, prove them all to to be liars. It's time for the carnival. Can I go? Hop a ride on the merry-go-round. Let's glide to the top of the Ferris wheel. I can see everything better from here. I sit on the bench in Cape May. October lies mute on the shore. The church is a junkie's playground. The connies don't stop there no more. Yes, it's a bit chilly in autumn, but I'm still seeking thrills and I have the right. No one should hold that against me. Everyone deserves to see pretty lights. It's time for the carnival. Can I go? Hop a ride on the merry-go-round. Let's glide to the top of the Ferris wheel. Doesn't matter how fast you go fast or slow as you might. All of life is a circle, catch as you can, don't hold on too tight. Just when you think you've gone forward, you might go backward again. Don't waste your time counting accomplishments if you can't count on your friends. It's time for the carnival. Can I go? Hop a ride on the merry-go-round. Let's glide to the top of the Ferris wheel. I can see everything better from here.
Well, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. Great imagery of being at the carnival and going to the top of the Ferris wheel. And yeah, that is neat.
Thank you. I wrote that a year ago, and it was my husband and I have been making this like autumn trip to Cape May once a year. In the past couple of years, we've done it where we go for like 5 days or something. And last year we went, and it was kind of cold, like mostly, but it was, it varies this time of year there. But there was a homeless woman that was so like, she stood out because, as you've probably been to Cape May, if you've been to Cape May, people that are watching, it's very pristine and very Victorian, and everything is very, there's a lot of wealth there. And to see a homeless person, just kind, and we only would see her at nighttime on where all the pretty lights are in the main drag there. Where the shopping is, and it's so pretty there with there's fountains and lights and trees and shops, and she looked a lot like me, and it was one of those things where I was like there but for the grace of God, and it made me think of like the way I grew up, because I grew up in Kensington in Philadelphia. It was not a lush life. And I thought, if things had gone differently, and who knows, it's still possible with the way things are going, but to be found without a home and kind of be in that situation. And I was thinking to myself, where's she going to go when it gets cold? She's like down at the beach now, and it's October, and when it's really cold, where's she going to go? And I just thought of like just the way I grew up. So that song is just kind of like a quilt of the way I grew up, and understanding poverty, but also knowing that I've been very lucky. And she just wanted to sit there and look at the pretty lights. Like there's like just a really beautiful, Cape May is just so beautiful. And I was imagining, well, do people bother her? Do they make her leave? And, so that whole idea of what little joy she was trying to get out of life. And I did have the courage I didn't talk to her the first like 2 times, and the third time I talked to her and asked her how she was doing. And she was just sweet. She was like, and I just thought, my gosh, like she could be me. So I could be her. And then we came back from Cape May and unpacked the car, and I sat down at the piano and just wrote it all out, because it was just all there. It's like just me thinking about her and how much alike we are.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've heard that phrase of yours in other songs in your lyrics, "There but for the grace of God." I've heard it a
Totally.
couple other places, yeah. And
Sure.
it's a great insight that for a person to have. There's a lot of luck involved in life sometimes too.
Yeah, yeah. I've been very lucky, and I feel very fortunate, and I'm lucky to be surrounded by people, really wonderful people too. So, even in the songwriting community, our songwriting community is just unbelievable.
They're very supportive.
Very supportive. I feel just like hugged every time we get together.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is amazing because as every other guest has said, it can be a lonely craft sometimes.
mhm.
You have to work through some difficult things and craft it in such a way that the rawness of what is being said isn't said too often. You know.
Yeah, I'm so honored by Heidi and Rob Lincoln and Heidi. I want to say Wolfson, but I don't. It's Heidi
Hoskins, yeah.
Hoskins. Thank you,
Yeah.
Heidi Wolfson, Heidi Hoskins, and Christine Winchester Perry. They're just like the fact that they've created this community is just really. I feel really lucky by it. It's just so supportive.
You also mentioned something, which I think I've heard you say before. You said when you got back, you sat down and kind of the whole song was there and you worked through it and got it down. And I've heard you say that before, that for you, a lot of your songs, I guess, are like that. They aren't these long, drawn out, multi day, multi week chiseling like for some songwriters, that they kind of come a lot together.
So this has been an evolution for me because 3 years ago, I would have said, yes, I sit down and write a song, and in an hour or two, it's done, and I am finished. And then I met Vance Gilbert, who is now my coach. And
Wow.
he talks, well, and also Ellis Paul, they both talk a lot about editing. And I was like, when I first started coaching with Vance, I was like, I don't edit, I just write, and I'm done. And then, it's kind of funny. I was trying to like prove my point and send him lyrics, and then I go, wait a minute, I changed something, and then wait a minute, I changed something. Then I realized I do edit. I do edit, and now I'm learning. I've been coaching with Vance for like 2 years now, and I am learning how to edit and how to write better songs. Like I just didn't know that that was. It's funny. I took a master class with Louise Goffin, who is. This
Yes.
was just a couple weeks ago. It was through the Songwriters of Washington, Songwriter Association of Washington. She is Carole King's daughter and Jerry Goffin's daughter, who wrote all those early, like Locomotion, all those early, yeah,
In the Brill Building, yeah.
Motown, yeah,
Yeah.
and she said something that occurred to me about um, it was like a light bulb that went off when she was talking about the craft, because I was saying I don't even know if there is a craft. I don't believe there is a craft of songwriting. I don't know what that means. Like everybody talks about the craft of songwriting, and she said the craft is the editing, and I was like, oh, okay. I get it now. So the craft is the, like, maybe that's not the best choice of words, or maybe I could use
Yeah.
a different word there, or am I really telling the story the way I want to tell it, and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So I have learned to edit. I do consciously edit now. I was unconsciously editing before,
Right,
but
right.
most of my songs are like I sit down and write them, but now I'm taking a little bit more time with, is this cohesive? I get coaching from Vance. He goes line by line. He's a great coach. He goes line by line and talks about all of it. And is it in the right order? Is it really, what are we trying to say? The thing he'll say something like, what are you trying to do with this song? And I hate that question because I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea.
Yeah. Or what's the purpose of this verse?
Yes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. He is wonderful.
But
He's a
it's,
wonderful artist. Yeah.
what's that? I'm sorry.
He's a wonderful artist and performer and
Oh
writer.
yeah, yeah. And he's going to be featured on the album
Won-
my Christmas or holiday song, I should say, Mrs. Claus.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so the coaching has really helped me hone my skills a lot, and I do sit down and write, but now I do really edit. And there is one song that has taken me a long time to write, and it's not on the album, and I don't know if it'll ever be on an album, but there is a song that I really struggle with, and I think the deeper you go with content, like the deeper you go with your emotions, the harder it is to write a song.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I have the exact opposite problem where I overbake things. I don't start writing, but I overbake the mental work or the emotional work till I really get it down to what it is it should be about. When I start writing, it's crafty. It takes a lot of repetition, but for me the journey has been silencing my inner critic and then doing to get everything out in a raw, more honest form, and then coming back with the editing. So I'm kind of having the opposite journey. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Megan Carey she has a name for her inner critic, and she knows where it is. It's in her back. I think she calls it Crispin, or she's a name for it. And it is like it's something you have to be conscious of, and it can make you crazy when you start,
Okay. Yeah.
trying to be objective about yourself, because you never will. You're subjective.
That is true. That is true. That's amazing. All right. This is Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney every Monday night at 7 o'clock on Rocking the Valley and on Tom Cooney Music on Facebook. It is creative, positive talk and original music. And we do 3 rounds of music, and we talk all about our guest artists, and we talk a little bit about the craft. So that's a differentiator with this show. It's a mix of live music and artist exposition, and a great sprinkling of craft, talking about the craft. And like every craft person, be it wood or stone or dance or anything else, it's a journey, and it's always fun to talk craft with other folks. It's really neat stuff. Let's get on to the 3rd round of music, and I'm going to do something here that I wrote in 2016, and it is a song about driving around my hometown in summer evenings in the twilight with my friends or family. And it's about that time when late in high school you're starting to realize how wonderfully beautiful that time is, and that it's ending. Summer cruise, capital city, driving with RTC on. I'm on a slow ride with my baby, and Gil Scott Heron's on. This summer evening it sits so pretty, nothing could go wrong. Man, this city shines like a ruby. Climb in the back and ride along. Peace comes to the city, shining like a star. On the lost, the fools, the holy, and the dreamers flying in my car. Riding through Cooney on the high side, let's head up to Trinity Ridge. Watch that sun slide down the mountains, dream about the lives we will live. We'll break the chains that freeze our minds. We'll learn about that great big love. Swear we'll be there for each other. Just call my name and I will run. Peace comes to the city, shining like a star. For the lost, the fools, the holy, and the dreamers in my car. Break the chains that freeze our minds. We're gonna learn about that great big love. Swear we'll be there for each other. Just call my name, call my name, call my name, and I will run. Peace comes to the city like a chariot on fire. For the lost, the fools, the holy, and the dreamers flying in my car.
Oh, what a fun song.
Thank you.
It takes you back to a different time.
It does. It's I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and
Oh, Hartford. I was trying to guess, and I'm like Trinity, and I was like,
yeah, Trinity College, yeah, the
oh,
ridge
it's Trinity College. Okay, yeah.
by Trinity College, and where all my family and friends were. And and again, I'll just repeat the one thing about the song. It's about that special time when you're growing up. It's probably the summer between your junior and senior year, or after your senior year. And just everyone's maturing and happy, and you've worked all day, whatever you're working, everyone's together in summer nights, and then all of a sudden it hits you halfway through the summer. Wow, this is it. I can see these people.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very moving song. It still moves me to this day.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Great content.
Before you get on your third and final song here, just a couple of things I wanted to mention. Some of the gigs that you've played here, the Turk's Head Festival in Westchester. You've played the Philadelphia Folk Song Festival, singing backup with Meg and Carrie and the Analog Gypsies.
Yes.
Great name. And Marion Halliday and Trickster Sister there as well, another great local artist. You've done the Doylestown Arts Festival, the Westchester Restaurant Festival, Wayne Porch Fest, a whole bunch of other stuff. And are there any other unique things that you've done, or what are you doing for virtual stuff now? And
I'm not doing a lot because this isn't my main source of income, and I kind of don't want to. Not that not that I have such a following that I like magnetize everyone that away from their people that need the income. But there's a lot of musicians right now that just have no income except for what they're doing virtually and if they teach. And so I feel, and I don't, if I do something virtual, it's nothing that I would ever charge for at this point, just because I know there's musicians that really are suffering. And so I haven't really done a lot. I've done like maybe 2 things so far, and this, and open mics like we did last night.
yeah,
At Kennett Flash. And that's another thing. I'm trying to support the venues that are suffering,
yeah,
like Kennett Flash and other venues. So it's just a tough time right now, and I'm fortunate enough that I make my living a different way. So
yeah,
but I really feel for all my friends that are suffering as musicians and artists and venues, and all
yeah,
those people that work in the venues, and the servers and the bartenders, and
yeah.
it's a tough.
Hopefully that next round of funding, whenever it gets through, is supposed to address both of those situations, and hopefully it'll do so in a meaningful way. I also wanted to ask, have you tell the folks about your musical background? I understand you kind of grew up in a musical household, and we are each one of 9 children.
Wow, where do you fall in line?
I'm 6th of 9.
6th of 9. Okay.
In the middle, and you, I understand, are the baby.
I am the baby of 9. Yes.
Wow.
So no matter how old everyone gets, I'm always get to be the youngest.
That is fantastic. Yeah, there's lots of benefits and drawbacks to being in a large family.
Yes, there are. I was very lucky because it's true what they say. By the time they got to 9, it was like I was. My parents couldn't care less where I what I did.
Yeah, I'm at my ninth. My youngest brother Henry is just everyone loved him. He was the baby, and
Yeah,
the older kids were old enough they wanted to take care of the baby, and he's been adored his whole life, and rightfully so. He's a great guy.
yeah, yeah,
Funny.
yeah. It's but
Uh,
it's, yeah, that's the truth. You get a certain personality in your birth line in a big family.
yeah, I was a middle child, the sixth of nine, right around 5 or 6, and so I was born an observer. I saw things above me and below me, and I've been an observer and very analytical person and an introvert my whole life.
Hmm.
This performing in front of microphones is really unsettling, but I kind of kind of get through it. Okay, I think. But yeah, I've always been an observer. I think because of my place in the order. Yeah.
Yeah, it is fascinating to think of that, and I think it's also musical influences in a big family is interesting because I had from the um,
Yes.
6 of 9. Yes, my brother is 6 of 9, so that's like a Star Trek thing, I think. Six
Well,
of nine.
yeah. Well, I've heard you mention this before too. That from your parents to your older siblings to your middle siblings, everyone's listening to a little different music, and you wind up getting exposed to all this stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, big band, Ray Charles, there's like a lot musical theater stuff and
It's wonderful.
Motown, and it was like a whole drizzle of different influences, Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Neil Young, and I just could go on forever. It's just like everyone likes something different. So it was like I really had a lot of fodder musically.
And that kind of developed into a more serious musical interest, where you were in your high school orchestra, and then tell folks about your college education as well.
Yeah, so I have a degree in double bass. I don't know if I can just put my camera this way.
Oh, wow.
That's over there. And I don't play it enough. I wish I played it more. But I played in a community orchestra. But my goal when I went to college was to be a orchestra, like playing the Philadelphia Orchestra. Like that would have been the gig I would love. And and part of my love for Brahms came from playing the bass because Brahms' father was a bassist, so Brahms wrote these really beautiful bass lines, and you feel like
Ah,
you're playing the melody. You feel like the star when you're playing a Brahms symphony and you're a bass player. It's just a wonderful
wow.
thing. So that's part of the reason I am so keyed into Brahms. But yeah, I got a degree in double bass, and I studied with Henry Scott of the Philadelphia Orchestra, and I went to the Academy of Music because that was where they played at the time, and had my lessons there every week,
Cool.
and it was a great experience. I don't regret it. I think it was a great education for me in a lot of ways, and then life happened, and I needed
Yeah.
an income,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
got
I
into
played music for a few years after college, and then I went into a very long and serious IT career, and family and travel for work sometimes. And you're right. Your time just gets eaten up. But I'm happy to, as I told a friend a few years ago, I'm happy to be back living in the music and thinking, living inside the music.
Yeah, it shows. It shows. It's just like there's so much joy when you play, and
Thank you.
it's just really, I look forward to the time where I can do this more often. But it is such a treasure to have to be able to use it as an outlet, music.
Yes, totally, totally. Well, thank you for sharing about your family position background, as well as your musical training background. The folks we appreciate that very much. So, to close us out tonight is our special guest again. This is Lisa Jeanette. This is Songwriters Alive with Tom Cooney every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, on rockingthevalley.com and Tom Cooney Music on Facebook. Please join us and please watch for our rerun episodes as well. And Lisa, it's been such a gas. I wish we had more time. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. It's really great to even just talk like this.
It is. It's
To
fun.
do this without being on Facebook.
Great. And if you could take us out, please, and share whatever you'd like about your last selection.
Sure. So I'm going to play a song called Portrait, which is on the album It doesn't really need an introduction at all. It's kind of self-explanatory, and I'll just go on with it. Portrait. It's a wonder how every day is a new portrait. We get to paint it, often without much care. Some days we find that we've painted a weed, some days a fine orchid. Brushstroking blindly, we stumble on something rare. But this day I've put aside to create with intention, rather than run from fear or try to hide. I got a new canvas, this old easel to lean on, and I'm painting you next to me, by my side. Sometimes an artist will paint the landscape they see right before them. Looks so real you can imagine you're there. Sometimes they paint with visions and dreams, abstract and foreign, taking your heart on a journey, who knows where. I can paint it surreal for the parts that I'm not free to mention, with as much honesty as we both can abide. I've got a new canvas, this old easel to lean on, and I'm painting you next to me, by my side. If I could inhabit a painting, which one would I choose to? The skies of Van Gogh or the fields of Monet? But I've come to the truth that this is the frame I belong to, and that someone's painting me a little late. My colors may fade, my body may break, my mind lose dimension. The persistence of time never lets you stay long for the ride. I've got a new canvas, this old easel to lean on, and I'm painting you next to me, by my side. And when the story is over, when the paint dries, when all that's left are those observing to decide, will they see satisfaction in my eyes when they look at my portrait?
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That is really beautiful.
Thank you so
I,
much.
I think I've told this before. I get a sense of a musical theater when I hear some of your compositions. They almost sound like a character, the way you stop the melody and talk sometimes.
Mm.
And your exposition is as sometimes as touches a musical theater. It's very beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. Lisa Jeanette, folks. You can see her at lisajeanette.com. Let me spell that for you. It's LISAJENETTE, lisajeanette.com. And you can see her on Spotify and on Apple Music and Google Play and every other distribution point for music. And wonderful musician and a wonderful singer-songwriter, as you've heard tonight. Please reach out. Please connect with her. And she's also working on a second project, as she told you. And if you go to her webpage, you'll find there's a way for you to get involved in that as well, which is very important. Look for her blog post on that first main page on lisajeanette.com. Lisa, thanks so much. What a guest.
Thanks, Tom. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. And thank you for the sound. Thank you for taking care of that. Oh, good. I felt like I was in good hands.
Next week is going to be a repeat episode, which I have not decided to pick yet. I will post that very early by the end of this week. Wonderful. Yeah. Hey, Steve, I have a couple of future dates I can let you know about. On November 9th is Brent Ellison, a wonderful great of Philadelphia, a songwriter that Lisa knows. He's
Absolutely.
outstanding. And on November 16th is Alyssa Dodge, a wonderful young singer songwriter. 16th is Alyssa, yeah. November. I'll text those to you, Steve. Thank, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Steve.